Yo, ladies and gentlemen, it is another episode of SelzSpeaks podcast, and I have an amazing childhood friend, Tiffany, with me. Listen, there's a million things I could say, but there's also a million things I don't know. So I would much prefer, and I think it's safer for you to introduce yourself to the people, let them know what you do, what you got going on. Talk to us.
So my name's Tiffany. I am a mom of two. I live in Southern Georgia, but originally from New York.
Okay, that's right.
I'm a doctor of physical therapy by day, so I treat in the pediatric setting, and I'm also a children's book author, youth leader at church. I wear a lot of hats, so I do a lot, and I also am starting a brand for moms.
Oh, brand from what's that?
So I'm thinking it's going to be called Fit Faith, but basically it encourages moms to prioritize self-care, faith, and health in general. Just being a mom, knowing how it feels to lose yourself in motherhood and sometimes also in marriage. I just want moms to be able to not lose themselves in the chaos and life of motherhood and remember who they were before they became moms, and to embrace that.
Right, that's what's up. What I want to say, like, okay, so when you think specifically of, and what did you say it was called?
Fit Faith, but it's like
Name
always
pending. I
changing.
got you.
Yeah.
So when we say fit faith, like, what are you trying to get the clothing to exemplify, or get the clothing to say, like, what separates it?
So haven't really thought of clothing as much, but let me start here. I went through something really hard over the last year,
Mm-hmm.
and fitness really changed the game for me. It was where I started to feel alive again.
Right.
It was where I started to feel like, oh my goodness, I love my body, I love
Yeah.
myself. I needed to be doing this sooner. And faith has always been a part of who I am.
Yeah.
God has always been number one in my life. Of course, as we navigate through life, sometimes we put them on the back burner,
Yeah.
etc. But I always wanted to incorporate fitness and faith because I think they should go hand in hand.
Right.
I didn't want it to just be like, yeah, let's be fit. But I also know that to navigate life well, you have to have God. And so that was a big part for me as well. And I think sometimes going through motherhood and life's experiences that we face that can be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we just go on autopilot, and sometimes we just forget where God is in it, who God is in it. And so over the last year, aside from fitness, God has truly I've been able to connect with him on a more deeper level, personal level.
Right.
And it's been so Fit Faith has kind of just been going through my mind, but
I
it may
love that.
change.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it seems to be also in line with, like, a lot of the content that you've been releasing lately. So, like, you'll come up on my Facebook, my Instagram, and I'm seeing, like, don't give up. Things can be hard and da 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 da. So it's like, I've known you, and I've always known you to be someone who will talk, and you've always been motivated, and you've always been like that ever since you was younger. But it's like now I'm kind of seeing more of this personality start to blossom through the social media platforms. So what kind of, like, what inspired you, or really started pushing you to say, you know what, let me start putting this content out, let me start putting out these encouraging messages, like, what really was pushing you to do that?
Just knowing that I'm not the only one going through what I'm going through.
Mm.
I live in a military town, and the number of moms who just come on the like mom site and say, hey, I'm new here, looking for a community, looking for someone to connect with, looking for someone who's like me. And so I just know that there are women who I'm going to be able to connect with who are like me, going through things like me. And I think that sometimes, how do I put it? Sometimes we could wear the supermom hat, and social media has a way of making people look so put together
Yeah.
without the flaws. And I just wanted to bring the reality into it in my own experience and bring it to light because it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, motherhood is real. Hardship is real. Difficulties are real. But there is peace. There is joy. There is hope in the midst of it all. So it's a combination of those things.
No, I love that you say that, because I think one of the biggest things we are missing from social media is that authenticity. You hear all the time that people use their Instagrams as their highlight reels. And so you're seeing all these good things happen, people acting like their relationships are amazing, or, for these 30 seconds, we're going to look so happy. And then right after that, we're going to go back to not talking to each other for the next 2 weeks. And it's just like, I think when you find spaces of people who are creating content, but they're being honest about it, I think that becomes super invaluable. And, just the combination of being in a place where, because I feel like sometimes when we go through things, it can be very easy to be in this place where it's like, I'm just gonna pray and that's all I'm gonna do. And I feel like, and you said something so super important where you were like, fitness was a very important thing. And it's like, I feel like that gets so underlooked because you've got fitness, you've got therapy, doing other things as well as praying is not a rejection of the power of prayer. In essence, I've always looked at it as an enhancement of it. And so I love the fact that, like, you're finding the time to be consistent, you're making it a priority. And then you also, you post like, look, today was a tough day, but I just kind of showed up, and I just feel like these are kind of the things that people need to see the reality of, because one thing I know, what I mean, and I'm with, I see it every day with my wife, what I mean, because I'm mainly, working and doing certain things, and she kind of more handles the kids. But it's like, I've learned that mothers do not get half of enough credit as they
Yeah.
should. The pregnancy is tough. There are a bunch of emotions that you go through, the postpartum, and then after that, it's raising a child, questioning yourself. So it's like, you're at a place where you now have two. So what has motherhood been like early on compared to what it is now for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you feel like a student, going to class for the first time. Motherhood early on is you trying to figure out if you're doing it right. You
Mhm,
always feel like you're doing it wrong.
mhm,
Um, and it's just I feel like just as much as you're raising up a child and training them up and allowing them to grow, motherhood is a time for women to grow. You learn a
mhm.
lot about yourself.
Right,
Um, you it's and then you also create your own style.
right.
So, I was raised by my mom. I
Yeah.
had other aunties, mother figures around me, etc., and they did their thing. They had their way of doing things. And so when you become a mother, you have to find out what's going to be your way of doing things with your spouse or single moms, etc. And so early on, I don't think I think I was like a new mom, nervous, just hoping I'm getting this thing right. I did early on too, which I think moms should do. I connected with other moms.
Oh,
It just helped to be in amongst other women. You felt like, okay, we're in this together. We can
right,
do this.
right,
So
right.
mom groups were like huge for me early on. And now you get into a rhythm. So I feel like I have a rhythm. But let me tell you, these kids, you you feel like you're in a rhythm one week, and then the next week it's like, what is this?
Yep.
So it's a continual process of growth throughout the journey. But I feel like, of course, I have more of a handle. My kids know me.
Yeah.
I know them more. As
Mhm.
they get older, some things get easier, some things get harder.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely in a better space as a mom now. I will say I'm in a better space because I am taking care of myself as well. Early
Mm.
on, I think I just kind of pushed the kids
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just forgot about me. And I remember some of my family friends like, you're losing weight. Like, what's going on? And
Right,
you
right.
just go through the motions. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, they got to go here. And then you're working and you have to do this and that. And so now I'm able to slow it down
Right.
and prioritize them and me at the same time.
So I want to really want you to explain that, because there are a lot of new moms, there are a lot of seasoned moms who never really get that balance of the meaning of prioritize myself and my children. How what does that mean for you, and how do you do it?
What that means for me is making sure my kids have everything they need and making sure I have everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that. I mean, it's just by doing what I just said. So for me, of course, as a mom, I wake up early.
Yeah.
We all know the phrase, you can't pour from an
Yeah.
empty cup.
Yeah.
And so I start off with my devotion first thing in the morning. I gotta get up early,
Mm-hmm.
and I allow God to just speak to my mind, my heart for the day, get me going. And fitness for me is a non-negotiable. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and that's one of the things why fitness has been so important to me, because I initially started off like most moms. Where am I going to find the time? I
Yeah.
don't have the time.
Yeah.
Until I literally said, Tiffany, you're going to make the time.
Yeah.
And I remember doing it with them running around me in circles. Sometimes I had to take them to the gym, but it was a commitment that I stood by. So,
Right.
but at the end of the day, they're fed, they're clothed, they're bathed. They
Yeah.
have my love, my support. they're in school, they're home, they're safe and they're well. And
Right.
so it's the same for me. When I drop them off, when I have my time, I want to make sure that I'm doing well for myself.
Right. Right.
And what things I do, I'm reading, I'm journaling. Sometimes I am working, whatever it is, the different things. But I have my own kind of routine that I like to do. But fitness, self care for me, not so much about like my nails and my hair too much, but for me, it's really just being able to release,
Right.
being able to let out what I'm feeling to God in my journal, whatever it is, being
Mhm.
able to connect with like-minded friends and family as I'm going through the day as well, just to release. Because sometimes I feel like we worry about so much of like what we're self-care, or they make self-care feel like so much of what you put on and
Right. Right.
but it's sometimes it's just what you're able to let go, and
Mm.
it helps you navigate easier. So that's what it is for me, making sure they're well and I'm well, and finding that balance every day.
So when you first started off saying, "Yo, you know what? No matter what, I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna be committed to this process." Was there initially some guilt? Like, were you feeling like, maybe I could be doing a little more for them? Or did you really just come to a place where it's like, I really need to be doing this for myself. They gonna be all right.
No, yeah, I was like, I'm doing too much for y'all. I'm not doing enough for me. That's where I was. I did feel, how do I put it? I think no, I didn't feel guilt. I felt liberated,
Oh,
because when you realize that you can do it with them at the same time, it
right,
was like, why didn't I know I could do this all along? I
right.
think sometimes we make up excuses in our minds and we prevent ourselves from doing things because we
Hmm.
just don't know how it's going to work. We don't
Yeah,
think it's going to work until
yeah.
you do it. And so for me, it was very liberating,
Hmm.
and they enjoyed it. They're like, "Oh, we're working out." They always now it's a part of who they are as well.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, yeah.
And so I feel like kind of being able to really balance that has also kind of opened the door for you to do the other things that you're doing, like, starting a clothing brand, and then, even doing your social media. Me as a father, it's like I'm always kind of in that middle place of like, okay, how do I balance, what I mean, working all the time and providing, but then also being there and doing certain things with them. And I think one of the easier things for me has been like, you just kind of have to ask yourself, what is the priority?
Mhm.
And so for me, it's like I always told myself I can't ever allow work to be more important to the kids. And I think the unique, I don't even know what to say it's unique, but coming from a father, it's like there's this onus of, okay, protect, provide, protect, provide. So we always feel like when you're working or at work, you're doing for your family, when at times it's like, actually no, like sometimes that extra $100, you didn't need it. You could have just been better being there.
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
think like parents are always kind of going through that balance where it's like not only are, you're trying to do everything, but then everything is not coming together. Your relationship is suffering, your kids are suffering, and you just kind of everywhere. And so, I like the way you frame it, because I mean you make it clear it's not that everything is perfect, but at least you're in a place where it's like you're able to manage, you're able to connect with, your friends and family, and then kind of, pour fitness into that, which I think is super key. So if we were to kind of like take a step back a little bit, so it's like, you kind of go into a situation, you get married, you have children, and everything is looking the way that it wants to, and then everything kind of veers, and like now we're talking about a massive life shift. So
Yeah.
how are you how are you getting through that while
Mhm.
also still being present, while also remembering to be with yourself? Because you're juggling a lot of hats right now.
Yeah.
So, for the people who are in the middle of the process or about to go through the process, I know a lot of times it can be a very lonely time of life. So it's like, how are you
Yeah.
navigating this, and what's getting you through it?
Divorce is hard. I'll
Hmm.
just say that. It's difficult.
Hmm.
But it's like this. I believe that the shift that I made a little over a year ago
Hmm.
prepared me for this shift,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So sometimes you are you are moving and feeding off of the fuel that you already have, if that
Mm.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
I have built up a stamina, I built up a routine, I built up what it means to treat myself well,
Yeah.
what it means to care for myself. It took a while. I mean, in the beginning, you have to peel back the layers. I had an immense amount of therapy,
Yeah.
just one-on-one with my therapist,
Yeah.
just to navigate through what I'm going through. And so it started there, at first, just having the right guidance, and just having a, how do I put it, sometimes, at least for my therapist, they reveal things that are already there. And that's the thing
Right.
that I do with moms. What I said, fit faith, but I'm also doing like a mom reset program anyway. But sometimes, we forget the things that are already there.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're buried, sometimes we just haven't tapped into it in years. But
Yeah.
I've always been an optimistic person.
Yeah.
I've always been an encouraging person. It's
Yeah.
just a part of who I am.
Yeah, that's right.
Some of that got dimmed in one way or another, but
Mm.
it's just, it's a part of me just being who I am,
Right.
and remembering that. But I think you do it by just having healthy practices. Like you said,
Mhm.
it's not perfect. Some days I'm sad.
Yeah, yeah.
Some days are harder than others. And but the thing for me, and that's just a part of my optimism. I never enjoy staying in a low place. It's just not
Mm.
me. Like,
Mm.
people can sit and wallow and complain. I can't stay there. For
Yeah.
me, it's like, up, gotta go outside and get some fresh air.
Yeah,
Gotta
yeah,
open
yeah.
a window. Gotta pray. Gotta read an encouraging word. Gotta look at a
Right.
sermon that's gonna, support me in this or whatever. And so I choose not to stay there.
Right.
Even though those feelings and things come up, when they do, I choose to rise above them and
Mhm.
to push with what I know is going to be well for me and my kids.
Right, right. No, that's awesome. Now, you kinda hinted at something I think is a little important, and you say you have a program in which you're, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Mom Reset? What's that?
Yeah. So yeah, so when you mentioned the clothing, you said fit face, so I kind of got thrown off in the beginning. But yes, so I am working on doing mom resets, which is
Mhm.
going to be like a 30-day mom reset program where we incorporate self-care, faith, and fitness.
Wow.
And so yeah, so I'll have a ebook journal style of a flow for 30 days.
Mhm.
I'll get moms to sign up for a fitness program that I've been a part of for over a year and a half.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'll also start like a mom support group in that, of course, where we will meet weekly or twice a week to just connect,
Mm.
and grow together. So
That's dope. I
that's
like
my
that,
plan
yeah.
for October, man.
I love it. That's dope. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so let me ask you this then. Like, one thing I keep hearing you repeat is kind of like that support system. You being able to reach out to your friends and family. You being able
yeah,
to kind of be in the circle where you felt nurtured. And a lot of posts that I see all the time is like, oh, don't let nobody know what you're going through. Keep everything to yourself. Keep quiet or whatever, whatever. And I've always felt like that's the worst advice in the world, because I feel like when you say certain things, it can inspire the right people, and people who would actually want to help you or want to be a blessing to your life now see the need. However, when you keep everything quiet, nobody can help you out. So it's like, how did you kind of break that mold of, okay, I'm gonna just stay quiet and keep everything to myself, and actually say, you know what, no, I'm going to lean into a support system. No, I am going to join mothers groups. Like, how did you break from the mold?
I I think there comes a time when you just have to decide if you are going to be able to just live your truth. Just to actually live what you're going through.
Hmm.
For me, even when I shared, that I'm going through a divorce on social media, I didn't share details and things like that, but
Yeah.
I said, I'm posting a lot of different things, and I think it's helpful for people to understand what you're going through so that they know why.
Yeah.
Or else they're trying to ask and answer their own questions
Right.
without really knowing. But for me, I think the worst thing, like you mentioned, you can do is to shut yourself away from support
Right.
and
Right.
people who can help you, because that's just not a godly model. I
Right.
mean, God asks us to come to Him, to cast all our cares upon Him, etc. And so, if we are to be imitators, I believe that He made us for community. He made us to support and encourage one another as well. And
Yeah.
so, I don't think there's nothing wrong with having your time to process things
Hmm.
by yourself. But along my journey, at least, there's never been a moment where I haven't had some kind of support.
Right.
And sometimes if you have the support before you go through what you're going through, people will reveal things that you won't be able to see.
Right. Right.
And that was really key for me, with those who are closest to me, being able to affirm some of the
Hmm.
things that I was going through.
Right.
Like, hey, we know you, we've
Mhm.
seen you.
Yeah.
This isn't right. That's not right. And so it helps to have that support if you have a good support system, because like I said, they'll just bring out things that you probably won't acknowledge otherwise.
Right. Yeah, I know for me, like my first 3 months of marriage, it was a very like jolting experience for me because it's the first time I'm living with somebody and they're different from me. I'm waking up super bright early, ready to go. They sleeping in, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm panicking, like, Lord, did I mess up? Like, I know you revealed this person, but there's a lot of weird things going on right now. Like, was my prayers mixed with somebody else? I was freaking out, and I remember I have a cousin of mine, like I call him the Samuel to my David. And I was like, yo, man, like, I don't know, man. He's like, bro, calm down. Just relax. It's gonna be all right. You're gonna settle into it. And it helped me so much. And I feel like that's why that culture of, okay, everything you're going through, keep it inside. Especially when they say the marriage. Oh, the number one thing when you get married, don't tell nobody. And I'm like, that is horrible advice. I don't think you should tell everybody,
Yeah.
but have your one or two wise people that you can always go to who will pray with you, and kind of reveal that to you. And I love that not only you found that for yourself, but you've created a community in a retreat. So do you have your community established right now, or is it kind of something that's growing?
Something that's growing. I've got to get people to sign up.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do my email list, all the hard business work behind the scenes deal. But I have a coach. I've had a coach for the last 9 months or so.
Good.
And I have a group of people in that coaching program as well. And we all are doing our own business thing. So
Good,
I do. I
good.
have a little community.
Yeah, you out here killing the game, man. And so one thing that I do not want to overlook at all is that you also have a amazing children's book, right?
Yes,
So
I
so so
do.
tell me all about that. Like, what's up with that?
I gotta. It's far away from me.
Hey,
It's
listen,
entitled
you
"Dear
want to
Little
go
Brown
grab it? Go
Finger."
ahead.
Okay, let me go grab it. Hold on.
I'm gonna make a makeshift commercial.
Okay.
So as we wait for her to go get the book, I hope you guys are just enjoying this episode of SelzSpeaks podcast. If you haven't already, we ask that you like and subscribe, and please share with all your friends. And now we have our amazing guest right back.
Okay, yeah. So it's entitled "Dear Little Brown Skin Girl," and it's the second edition.
Beautiful.
I wrote this book for my daughter, and similar to me, like I said, you're not ever the only one going through what you're going through.
Yeah, yeah.
She was having a hard time really embracing her brown skin, her brown
Oh,
hair, black hair. Um, and I knew that other little girls needed to hear this message about just loving themselves. It's
yeah.
interesting how you write a book for kids to love themselves and embrace who they are, and then you go through the same thing later.
That's right.
And so, I'm learning from this little book that I wrote for her in my situation as well. But anyway, yeah, I wrote this book. It is almost 2 years now
Wow.
since the original published date, and
Mhm.
so it's been good. It's been fun to encourage young girls in schools and daycares and things
Right,
like that.
right. And so you go to schools and talk about the book as well?
Yeah. I've had several podcast interviews. I've had several school and daycare events. I'm a keynote next weekend
Let's
for like a library
go.
event.
Let's go.
So
Mama of the
yeah,
year right here.
yeah. Yeah, behind the scenes I do a lot. I haven't been pushing it on social media as much because I'm really aiming for the more mom things right
Mhm,
now that I'm going through. But
mhm.
it'll always be my little gift that I had from this book, and I'm always doing things behind the scenes for
Right.
literacy and kids.
So
Yeah.
so now would that be the last book, or you got more to come?
No, I have more to come. My friends are like, "Why didn't you write one for boys?" And I have a son
Oh,
now, so
that's
I
right.
have to do the boy one. I have a few other drafts that are just like sitting out there that I've had editors look at. It's just timing.
Right.
Not I haven't lost passion for it, but I've just been moving in this
In a
direction with
different
my
space.
mom shift, and so I'm like, okay, I got to get back to my books too.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, I have a few more that I want to publish.
I love it. I love it. So being the mother of a young black girl and being the mother of a young black boy, what would you say has been the biggest differences for you?
Um, Boys are crazy. My son is just
I,
like
I can't even say you wrong.
very different from my daughter. Um, at least as a woman having a black daughter, she's like a mini me. It's
Mhm,
like seeing
mhm.
yourself again, but it's like you get a second chance to like
Mm,
make it right
yeah.
with her and how
Yeah.
you bring her up and how you encourage her and things like that. And my son is beautiful. I think I've always heard like sons love their moms.
Mhm.
So he is definitely really loving and
Mm.
loves on his mama, but whew, he is all boy and very busy. But just in general for them being, Black kids as a Black mom,
Right.
I never knew I would. You have to be their biggest advocate
Yeah.
because where we live, they're not the majority
Yeah.
at their school,
Yeah.
and things like that. And so I've had to step in and advocate for them in different ways already,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
they're not even in double digits yet, but it's been good. It's nice to have a legacy from God
Mhm.
and that He entrusts you to uh, train them up.
Right, right. And
And
so when
yeah.
you're in that space where you're advocating, right?
Mhm.
I know some people are a little more self-conscious or on the insecure side, and they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna look like the angry Black woman or the angry Black parent or whatever."
Right.
Uh, are you just like, "You know what? I don't care. It's my kids. I gotta do what I gotta do." Are you balancing? How are you managing that?
I'm pretty balanced. Like for me, how do I put it? On the phone, I think everyone thinks I'm a white mom for some reason. I've always gotten that. I'm like, you sound white. I'm like, no, I sound Black. Anyway, but in person, it's like, oh, hello, and I'm
Right.
like, yeah. But I for me, how do I put it? I've learned that no matter how soft I speak or how poised I am, if I come in there with my doctor of physical therapy hat or not,
Mhm.
people's assumptions and stereotypes are going to be what they are. And
Mm.
so I've just learned to just be. I've learned that may be what their thought is, but that
Yeah.
is not who I am.
Right.
That is not the emotion I had. That's not the attitude I had coming into it. But unfortunately, as a Black parent, we're always going to get the angry Black mom, dad, whatever rap,
Mhm.
unfortunately,
Mhm.
especially in a room full of, other white people. And so it's tough.
Yeah.
It was tough to experience that for sure, because I knew if I was a different mom, if I was a white mom in some of these situations, I would have been spoken to differently.
Mm.
The situation would have been handled differently. And so
Right.
that has definitely been different to navigate
Right.
for me. But I just show up as me. And I'm educated. And so I think sometimes, they automatically assume, like, oh,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm
Mhm.
like, no, 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 no. Like, I'm an educated Black woman. Like, I know how to be respectful. I'm never belligerent. You never hear me curse or call
Yeah.
anybody out of their
Yeah.
name. I'm just not that's not me.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, people are going to always have their stereotypes and
Right.
their assumptions, but I just learned to show up, and that's the biggest thing, just for them to know, like, this mom doesn't play about her kids.
Right.
Point blank, period.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, I let my wife kind of do like I guess the nice side of it, and I let everybody know like, listen, I play and I love Jesus a whole lot, but your life is on the line when you're around my kid, and I need you to know that and be okay with that, because
Yeah.
I feel like when there's a little bit of fear, everybody kind of acts, all right. When they're too comfortable, they just do certain things. I'm just like, nah. I
Yeah.
gave up being nice for my kids a long time ago, so it's more
Yeah.
like you want to deal with her mom before you want to deal with me, because I look like the nice one, but with my kids, I'm a completely different person.
That's funny.
Can't play about that, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, I just love how you kind of come to this place where you're able to navigate through all these ups and downs that kind of put people in positions where a lot of people get stuck in this place. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then you really found your stead. And so really, how is your faith and your belief in God bringing together? Because from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, right, it's a lot deeper than just knowing, okay, God is my Lord and Savior, He died on the cross, He came for me. Like, there is real relationship there. So how is that, you know kind of bring everything together for you, for the person who has only been to church on the surface level of just making sure they show up and they follow certain rules or whatever. How do they enter into that realm that you seem to be in, where it's like God is really guiding every move that you're making?
Yeah, you have to take time. I think that sometimes people put God in a box,
Hmm.
like, oh, he's only there when I'm reading my Bible, or he's
Right.
only there when I'm praying.
Right.
But God is there always. I've just become more aware of his voice, his leading, the Holy Spirit's guiding
Mm-hmm.
in my life each and every day. And so it's just it's being not only spending the time with him, but just being real. I
Yeah.
think sometimes people also think they got to show up to God like already perfect
Hmm.
and already like like I'm going through a divorce,
Yeah.
and this is something for me that of course, initially I'm like, that sounds crazy, but this is something for me that I have peace from God with as
Mm.
well. You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's the hard thing to
Right.
say in a
Yeah.
church or as a Christian, etc. But that is how connected I am with God in regards to just Him being able to lead, even in the things that are just the hardest, things
Right.
that just go against the grain. But it takes being real and authentic. It takes time. I think I learned of God's love in my lowest places. Sometimes you're like,
Mm.
oh, I'm at church, I'm praising.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But God really showed me who He is in my lowest places, because He literally shows up.
Right.
It might not be His audible voice, it might be in a form of a person or who is encouraging you, whatever. But I'm telling you, in the last couple of months, if it's not one thing, it's another, has just
Yeah.
been like bing, bing, bing
Right,
in my
right,
life
right,
story.
right.
And he always shows up.
Yeah.
Someone said, one preacher at my church a few weeks ago said, God always has a deliverance before your dilemma. And
Mm.
that's just kind of been like real for me and
I
what I'm
love
going
that. Yeah.
through, different things. But he has just always, he has been consistent.
Yeah.
And I think for those who are newer in the faith, learn to know God for yourself. I think
Right.
it could be easy to have an idea of God from other people or what they're saying or
Right,
what they're
right.
doing, but it's not until you meet Him for yourself that you really begin to experience His hand at work in your life,
That's
in the
right.
good and the bad and the ugly, and just see how steady and consistent He really is.
Yeah,
It's
and I
impressive.
think I love that. I think that's the thing that people kind of miss a lot is like, having a close relationship with God doesn't mean you don't go through tough things. You know what I mean? I always explain to people that, God revealed to me who my wife was and gave me confirmations and stuff like that. But I had moments where I was looking at her like, girl, I don't know. I just don't know if we going, and of course she looked at me the same way. And this is like praying for, okay, God, do this and do that. And miracles were happening that were answering my prayers. And I knew like, okay, this is the person. And so, like, even with the knowledge of this is my person, I still had moments of I don't know if we're really gonna make it. Now,
Mhm.
what's helped me and helped us is kind of like knowing, okay, this is what God put together, et cetera, et cetera. So we kind of come back to that and we can work through our stuff. And we ain't, I don't do nothing. I'm a very simple guy. My wife, she's super chill, one of the best. I mean, so we just chilling. But I mean, in situations where, like a person's listening to this and like, well, okay, you love God and you got married and you gave these vows and et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, if God, is guiding you so much, how do you end up in a certain
Mhm.
situation?
Good question. Yeah.
So I I'm gonna answer and I'm gonna let you answer. And so when I hear these things, I kind of try to remind people like, listen, God is not he's not controlling every aspect of your life, nor is he controlling every person in your life. And I've
Mhm.
explained to people that God can put someone in your life, and it could very well be the person that God had for you. But what people tend to do, and especially in marriage and relationships, is that okay, we pray for the person, fast and pray, we finally get the person. But then maybe one person stops doing the things that got them to that point, which was continuously submitting to God's voice and God's direction, which is what keeps everything together. And so now they go off and they do their own thing. And it's like, well, you didn't follow the blueprint. So
Mhm.
that's why, yes, even though God put it together and even though you fasted and prayed, it is falling apart because you didn't continue to keep him in the midst of it. So how would you answer that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think you answered it really well. I would say the same thing. I like what you said about control. I
Hmm.
think, how do I put it? Unfortunately, sometimes when it does come to life partners and who you're going to marry, etc., sometimes we take over
Hmm.
and we do not allow God to have control in that as much as we would like. And I was married for been married for 10 years, and so thinking back for me, I think maybe I wasn't as diligent in that time of
Hmm.
seeking and asking from God. And I think sometimes, how do I put it? It's the difference between going because you view a person as godly, like
Hmm.
going in your direction because of that, versus going in the direction God's telling you. I think sometimes we
Mm.
just automatically. It's a God,
Hey,
and
you
I don't want to go too
you
deep, but
gotta say that one more
I'm just
time. Say that
I'm just
one more
saying.
time for the people.
I think, there's a difference between going in a direction just because you believe someone is godly, whether it's from their job title or what you see, etc., versus going in the direction that God is
Yeah,
telling you.
good.
And that, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of times we miss our God marks and our the God path
Mhm.
because we either we desire something so much we're not able to see some of the red flags, but also, like I said, there are, unfortunately, there are people who are godly, but it just might not be who God had for you,
Yeah.
in spite of how good they are and what they do, etc.
Mhm.
But I think that's the big thing for me. Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
I think that we need to, state that as well in regards to why you can be so close to God and still make a mistake. I mean, look at David,
Yeah.
look at Samson,
Mhm.
so many different people in the Bible who had to really, go through
Yeah.
certain things to
Yeah.
remember, like, oh God, this is not what commanded me or what you told me to do, etc. But God still was faithful.
Yeah.
So even though my situation is changing, God didn't change.
Right, right. Oh, I love that.
Nothing happened because of him. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so some people put it on God. Well,
Yeah.
then God must be a problem, or God
Yeah.
must be the issue. No, it's the human who is the issue, or
Right,
the
right.
human who had the problem. And so, yeah, but
No,
I think you said it well.
I love that, like, because a lot of times when we do go through these tough situations, it's why God. And
Hmm.
the harder the situation, the faster it is for us to turn on God. But
Hmm.
you having that perspective where it's like, listen, no, God is good, God is great, and I'm going through the worst time of my life, but God is good and God is great. And
Hmm.
even through me and my tough situations, sometimes it's not even relationships, sometimes it might be finances, it's work, it's the outside stuff. And
Hmm.
I've learned through experience and God just knocking me across the head a million times that, listen, I'm good always.
Hmm.
Don't allow the situation to dictate, you know, your content in me, because I don't let what you do, impact whether I'm gonna bless you or not. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I just love that, through the challenges that you've been going through, you're able to kind of just maintain this level of positivity and this level of just production. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, you kind of just take a step back and kind of look at some of the things that you accomplished over the years, and it's like, did she go through something? Is she really going through? Because, like, I mean, of course we have our ups and downs, but, like, you've created a book, you're starting a company, and it's like you're able to find all this energy, which you're clearly stating that you're pulling from the Lord. And I think, like, I think there's a lot of, and I'm gonna make it more specific. I think there are a lot of women, a lot of mothers that want to find and make that connection of, okay, I'm going through a tough time, but I need to figure out how to go through that. And and was it as simple as, I'm waking up early, I'm praying, and I'm working out? Like, was that just the formula that it was for you?
I think for busy moms, you have to start with what you can manage.
Mm,
So I'm able to manage a little bit more now because I've been in the routine for so long. I can add things here and there.
yeah,
And of
yeah,
course, like you were mentioning, my kids, wellness for my kids and myself is a priority. So even though you see my videos like popping up, etc., that's because I take time when my kids are at school on my day off to do some recording in that hour. So, you just, for me, it was very much like flipping a switch.
yeah.
But I think you have to, I think sometimes, okay, so when you're a person of faith, you always want to start with God number one,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah,
But just for me, it was just start.
yeah,
I didn't start with, oh, I'm gonna write a book, or oh my God, I'm gonna start a program for moms.
yeah.
No, I started with taking care of myself.
Right.
And then as it went on, I'm like, oh, other moms need this. Or, oh, I noticed that there's a community out there who might be able to benefit from
So
what I'm
so
going through.
I'm gonna interrupt you because
Yeah.
there's a mom that's gonna watch this and she hears
Mhm.
just start. And so we're gonna, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna use the word dumb it down. We're gonna super simplify it. So she just heard you and you said just start. Okay, girl, what does that mean? Like, tell me what to do.
Got you. So figure out what it is you're lacking,
Mhm.
where it is you're lacking at, in whether it's your faith, self care, your health, and pick one thing
Mhm.
from each of those areas
Yeah.
and implement them daily. That's the best way I can say it.
So
For
that there you
me,
go. Your one
yes,
thing, whether it be praying every morning, walking around the house, maybe 30 minutes of music that you like and you just dance, you
there we
pick
go.
your one thing and you do that daily. And we
Yeah,
talking what, 30 days, 60 days, how long?
daily, every single. No, well, so okay, of course, fitness. You take a break. Always rest on the Sabbath, y'all. Always rest on the Sabbath. Let me say, not on the Sabbath day, but do it. Do it. They say it takes 21 days to form a habit.
Mhm.
So do it for at least 21 days.
Mhm.
Make it consistent, and do not, above everything, do not make it non-negotiable.
Mm.
Do not say, "Oh, this came up, so I can't do it anymore." And I do have this rule for me, at least: never miss 2 days in a row.
Right.
So it's okay. We're humans. If you miss a day, but never, once you start falling off after 2 days, it's really hard to get back
That's
on.
right. Yeah.
So if I haven't exercised in like a day or two, I'm like, oh, it's 2 days. I got to get back to it.
Mhm.
I'm not exercising every day, y'all. I'm not in the gym 7 days a week, same time every day. But when you start to do it consistently, it just becomes a habit.
Right,
And
right.
so start that one thing and do it as consistent as you can until it just becomes second nature. Yeah.
Right. And I love that, figuring it out imperfectly. You know what I mean? Because me, I've realized I'm more like intensity over consistency. So I'll like go crazy for like 3 months and I'm like fasting and working out every day, no matter what, even if it's at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then once those 3 months are done, I'm like, next 6 months, I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I realize like that's it's not good. So it's like for me, transitioning over to the consistency side has been a very interesting experience because I struggle sometimes with the small things in the
Mhm.
sense that like walking around for 45 minutes doesn't feel like anything to me. But it's like, well,
Mhm.
if I do that for 3 months, well, that's how you lost 10 pounds. Whereas like I'd rather for, an hour, I'm killing myself with this grueling video workout. But in reality, it's like you can only keep that up but for so long. And,
Yeah.
with 2 kids and a wife who's pregnant, there's just gonna be days where you just tired. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's
Yeah.
like the balance of, okay, I'm tired, but is that an excuse? Or am I actually like, no, you need to sit down tired?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
just love how you kind of frame that. And so, what I mean, just kind of to bring everything together. I'm not gonna hold you because I know you a mom, you got a million things going on. And so, to your audience, which is the moms out there going through tough times with children trying to figure them out, what do you want to leave them with?
Um, just know that you're not alone.
Mm.
You're not the only one going through what you're going through. Um, Lean into God, lean into the word, but also lean into your community. They say it takes a village to raise a child. I've had to create my own village
That's
where I
right.
am because my mom's not here, my grandma's not here. We grew up, we grew up in New York. There's family everywhere.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
very different right now for me.
yeah.
And so find your village, create it, and also just give yourself grace at the end of the day. I always say that sometimes, I don't always say it, but I say that if no one's told you today, you're doing a great job.
Mm.
At the end of the day, you gave that day your best. You gave
Yeah.
your kids your best. Remember to give yourself your best as well. And I think that will help you thrive as opposed to survive. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And so now, how can the people follow you? How can they connect with you? For that program that you got signing up. I know people are gonna listen to this and they might want to join. Give them the deets.
So my name there is Tiffany J Kouadio. Write down my last name, y'all, because it's hard to spell. Tiffany J Kouadio. I am that on all my platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and if you want to connect more, yeah, Instagram is my like main spot, and then everything funnels over to Facebook. But either way, you can DM me or find me. And yeah, that's what I go by,
So,
Tiffany
so
J
the
Kouadio.
Instagram is Tiffany J Kouadio, and that's Kouadio.
Mm-hmm. And if you have a little brown skin girl,
Oh yeah, yeah, and we can find that on Amazon, right?
yes, you can find it on Amazon. Make sure on Amazon it is the second edition. And also I have if you're on my Instagram or Facebook, I have my link for where I sell them out of my house as well.
Okay, okay, perfect,
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Yeah, we probably want you them to go to the Instagram and the Facebook. That way you get the full proceeds. Because
That part.
I know when I did my book, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm going to Instagram." I was like, "No,
Your
come to
book
me."
was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Listen, it has been a dope conversation. Another one episode of SelzSpeaks. Listen, you guys show my girl Tiffany some love, support, and for all you moms out there who are doing amazing, and for you guys who are not doing as amazing, you know, what I mean, if you've been looking for a circle, if you've been looking for a tribe, definitely head her way. We'll have all the information, descriptions, and the links and all that stuff. Again, everybody just show a whole lot of love to Tiffany. Thank you so much for your time. Love you. Love you, people. Have a wonderful day. This has been an episode of SelzSpeaks. Peace.